Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Strive for Excellence. Strive for Excellence is an educational platform for students who want to excel in their life. This channel will help you out to understand the subjects more easily with the greater ease. The topic which I am going to discuss today is the Egyptian civilization. I have divided this chapter in two parts, that is part 1 and part 2. Altogether, in Egyptian civilization, I am going to cover its location, its origin, characteristics, achievements, and how this civilization declined. But before I start my today's video, I would like to thank all of you for your support and love you have given me in my previous video of the Mesopotamian civilization. Keep supporting us like this because your support boosts us and motivate us to come up with more and more videos. So in this video, I'm going to cover these topics, that is location and origin, history of ancient Egypt, characteristic of the Egyptian civilization. Under the characteristic, I'm going to explain you town planning, buildings, architecture and engineering, society, food and dress. But before I start my video, here are the keywords. In today's video, I have introduced you keywords so that it will help you out to understand the chapter more clearly and with a greater ease. So very first is the Herodotus. Herodotus was the ancient Greek historian who said that Egypt was the gift of the Nile. Second is Hyksos tribes. Hyksos tribes invaded and ruled Egypt for about 100 years, that is from 1700 BCE to 1600 BCE. Pharaoh was an Egyptian ruler. And the last one is Skala Petra. Skala Petra was the famous queen of Egypt whose death in 30th BCE also marked the end of the ancient Egyptian civilization. Here BCE is referred as before Common Era. Location and origin. Ancient Egypt, like other early civilizations, developed in a river valley, the valley of the river Nile. Basically, the river Nile was central to the whole civilization and was a constant and major influence on its development. Here you can see the map that it shows how the river Nile is very helpful for the people of them to have the great livelihood, or we can say to have a flourished civilization, having a good way of trading, or to produce the abundant supply of production in the crops, yielding and harvesting, etc. Therefore, the ancient Greek historian Herodotus called the Egypt the gift of the Nile. Every year, without fail, the river would overflow its bank and transfer the entire valley into the vast lake. Actually, what happened when the water come back or receded back to the its original form, they left behind the deposit of the black fertile soil along the each bank, where the crops grew very easily, and they helped the farmers to yield more and more production of their crops. So we can say that they in the river Nile not only help in the production, but it's also provided the water for irrigation. The Nile also served as a national highway and the main transportation channel. Due to this, the Egyptians developed the trade relations with their neighboring countries and making their country a land of plenty. The valley of the Nile was a narrow strip of fertile land which stretched along the banks of the Nile. You can see this very well on the map given on that side. Deserts served as a natural barriers from a foreign invasions. Basically, Egyptian settlers enjoyed many years of peace and security during which they learned to build huts, grow crops, domesticate their animals, birds, and establish a society of their own. Now let us see the history of ancient Egypt. Archaeological excavation. During that means excavation is the process of a digging. We come to know the history of ancient Egypt is divided into three periods. that is Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom and the New Kingdom. Old Kingdom approximately have an era of 3000 to 2000 BCE. Middle Kingdom cover 2000 to 1700 BCE and New Kingdom approximately 1600 to 1100 BCE. For about 100 years, Egypt was invaded and ruled by the Hyksos tribes. From the earliest times, Egypt was divided into two parts, that is Lower Egypt and the Upper Egypt. Upper Egypt is southern part and the lower is the northern regions. Around 3200 BCE, these were united and ruled by the pharaohs or rulers to become a brilliant civilization that lasted until the death of Cleopatra, the last pharaoh in 30th BCE. Now, who is Cleopatra? Actually, Cleopatra was the name of seven queens in ancient Egypt, and Cleopatra VII was the most famous and popular. She was known for her beauty and intelligence, and she ascended the throne at the age of 17. She was so fluent in 9 languages. Both Julius Caesar and Mark Antony quoted her, and in 30th BCE she committed suicide, supposedly from a snake bite, after Mark Antony defeats at Actium. Now let us see the main characteristics of the Egyptian civilization. The very first one is the town planning. The use of urban planning in ancient Egypt is a matter of a continuous debate. Some Egyptian cities were planned while some like Memphis and Thebes, they actually grew organically only. Cities here were planned based on proximity to a water source, that is your Nile, and the height of the location above the flooding of the Nile. Here the cities were divided into two, that is upper and the lower regions. One is southern regions and the another one is the northern regions. There were a few broad parallel streets running from north to the south, which cut at right angles and by the narrow streets and divide the city into the blocks, or we can say in grids. So our next characteristic is buildings. There were two types of buildings in ancient Egypt. The very first is dwelling houses and the second one is the public building. Dwelling houses are buildings that people live in and do not use as office, trading places or any other official workplace. Okay? And the public building are those that are used by all the people and are not privately owned by one single person only. So let us now discuss more about the dwelling houses and the public buildings. Houses were built around the crossing of two major roads in the dwelling houses, and most of the people lived in one or two room house without the bathrooms. The rich lived in three-storied houses usually made up of stones with as many as 30 rooms with the bathroom, gardens and tools. An average house had 3 rooms, a courtyard and a kitchen area. There was a narrow staircase which led to the roof, and there was a window, a very small one, which is placed high up on the walls, which are very close to the ceiling. Actually, these are basically for keeping out the sun and let the daylight enter, or we can say for the ventilation. The last one here is the royal palaces, which were enclosed by high walls and separated from rest of the city. Some were surrounded by moats for adding the security. Moats here means that the palace is in between and the four sides are covered with the water for the security region. Now let's see what is public building. Temple districts were better planned and surrounded by the high walls, and the layout was basically symmetrical there. The temples were massive structures with the huge gateways. So our next characteristic is architecture and engineering. Architects and engineers built a remarkable monuments such as pyramids and temples. Pyramids basically are in triangular shape. Okay, the Great Pyramid at Giza is one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. You can see the picture here. And second one is a sphinx. Sphinx is a mythological figure with the body of a lion and the head of a human. Do you know the fact that the sphinx is carved out of a single block of stone? It means that it is not connected with 6 7 stones. Okay, not like a 4 parts are divided into as body and 2 parts are for the human face, we can say, or head. No, actually this is a one single block of stone and sphinx is made together with that block only. Let us know about the society. Society is divided into 2 parts. The very first is social structure and the second one is the family life. Let's see what is social structure. Social structure is divided into 3 parts, that is upper class, middle class and the lower class. Upper class consists of royal family, rich landlords, priests, government officials and doctors. Middle class consisted of merchants, manufacturers, craftspeople and lower clergy. Lower class people consisted of peasants and the slaves who were mainly prisoners of war. Let us understand more about the ancient Egyptian society by this graph of the pyramid. That is, first one is pharaoh, second government officials, third soldiers, then scribes, then merchants, then craftsmen, then peasants, and then the slaves. Pharaoh, he ruled Egypt as a god and he was the king of the Egypt. Government officials actually helped to run the governments and the temples. Soldiers, they fought against the foreigners and protected the Egyptian land. Scribes, they could read and write and they spent actually 12 years to learn how to do it. Merchants, they exchanged the products in the form of trading, we can say. Craftsmen, they produced the goods. Peasants, they were the farmers or the construction or the workers. Slaves, they were the prisoners of the war. House servants, or they had to obey the rules or we can say the command of the other upper and the middle classes. Let's move further and know more about the family life. The father was the head of the family, and the families in ancient Egypt was close knit group. What is now close knit groups? Actually, it's said for the relationship between the husband, the wife, and the children was usually close. That is why all these together are known as close knit groups. The women were treated with respect there, and children enjoyed the carefree and the happy lives. The boys were sent to school and girls stayed at home and helped their mothers to learn more and more household things or we can say housework. Our next characteristic is food. Bread made from wheat and beer made from barley form the staple diet of the people. Staple diet means they continuously used to eat this only. And they also ate vegetables, fruits, meat and the dairy products. Here in this video, the last characteristic which I am going to discuss is the dress. So the early Egyptians dresses were made of white linen and the men wore the loincloth. A loincloth is basically a single cloth which they wrap from their shoulders to all the body parts, okay? And women wear the long tight fitting dresses with the shoulder strap. Later their dresses become more and more complex, or we can see that they both men and women have their headdresses, their robes are there, belt are there, jewelry are there, and they wear the reed sandals. So by all this process the dresses become more and more complex day by day. So here I end our topic today and I hope you enjoyed it and understand the chapter, the Egyptian civilization. Next few things which I have to discuss, I will soon update my part 2. So keep waiting and stay home, stay safe and stay connected for more updates. Kindly like and subscribe my channel. Thank you so much.